Last winter, oftentimes you could drive throughout the North Country and see scenes like this. White-tailed deer along the road, browsing, looking for food. They were hungry. They were stressed, nibbling anything they can get. Understanding the winter food situation is important to learn if you're going to know about deer management and what's going to happen in the future so we can predict the deer herd. Right now, it looks pretty darn good. We're going to talk about deer nutrition, what they're eating, so stay tuned. I'm Fred Trost. It's Thursday night, time for Michigan Outdoors. Winter in the north is not always kind to the white-tailed deer. Snow covers the ground, makes it difficult to walk, which burns up energy. Snow also covers up much of their food, what little there is once the plants lose their leaves and become dormant. When the snow comes, the deer move into yards, which are usually cedar swamps where they find protection from the wind and some food is available. In the little town of Hulbert, near Tequamanon Falls, Lloyd Campbell has a small, modern apartment building, the only one in town, and he built a deer viewing room off the downstairs lobby. Each winter, the deer, along with a local flock of turkeys, come from the nearby deer yard and eat the handouts that Lloyd provides. Every day, during the middle of winter, spectators come from miles around to watch the deer and the turkeys. Now, this provides a lot of enjoyment to a lot of people, but it's at the deer's expense. These deer are not seen throughout the rest of the year. They're not tame, they're wild. But the reason they come in for food so near people is because they're hungry. The deer you're looking at right now, the ones waiting for Lloyd to put the food out, aren't just hungry. These are the deer that are literally starving. Now, they're not on their last leg, but they're the ones that are hurting the most. These deer are the smaller ones, the young of the year, the fawns, the ones that are run off of the food piles by the bigger deer, the more healthy deer, when they come in to eat. It takes starving deer to lose their fear of man or of any meat-eating animal. Their quest for survival is so strong that they know if they don't get food soon, their strength, which is already down, will soon be gone. So the weakest deer follow Lloyd, getting the corn before the bigger deer, the bullies of the deer yard, come in to take over. What's the matter with the food, the twigs and branches out in the deer yards? Well, research has shown that the protein content in the food that deer find in the winter is down 25 to 40%. Now that happens as the plants become dormant, so a pound of winter plants doesn't have the protein content that the summer food does. But what makes it even more difficult for deer is the digestibility. In the summer, a deer can digest about 70% of the plant material it eats, and in August, the digestibility drops to 45 or 50%, and by midwinter, it dips to as low as 12%. This means that during yarding, deer digest only a small fraction of what they eat, and the protein content of that small amount is far less than they get when they eat the same plants when they're green. And when you come to Wildlife Acres, which is what Lloyd Campbell calls his backyard deer yard, you'll see the deer and the turkeys eating at tabletop level. Now, that's something that these critters don't find in the woods. Most of their food they either have to paw for or reach for. Now, they don't mind reaching for food. I mean, they'll even take it from a bird feeder. For most warm-blooded animals, now whether it's turkeys or human beings, our metabolism increases the colder we get. Our bodies speed up, require more food to keep us warm, the way a furnace thermostat reacts to a draft. But not with deer. Their metabolism goes down as the temperature drops below freezing. They move less. They bed down most of the time. They don't move at night. Their feeding is almost all done during the day. And during storms, they'll stay in their beds for days at a time without looking for food. Did you see what just happened there? That deer was literally kicked off its dinner table. A bigger, more aggressive, probably healthier deer wanted it out of the way, wanted to save that food for itself. Now, you don't see a lot of fighting right after the food with the hay and the corn has been put out. They're all busy eating. But after a while, especially as the corn is eaten up, the fighting begins. Now, see those white marks, the scars on that deer's head? That's a buck, and those marks are where its antlers were. It isn't necessarily the bucks that fight either. Does do too. These fights aren't playful. They're serious. Watch this in slow motion. I'll back it up and see if it doesn't remind you of prize fighters. They posture. They fake moves. They intimidate. Now, they're trying to drive each other off by acting tough. And if that doesn't work, the dominant one will strike. These blows with their sharp hooves are serious, and I'm sure they hurt. I mean, the hair flies. In slow motion, you can see the kick to the upper ribs knock chunks of hair to the ground, and that's all that's needed to drive the weaker deer away. It moves off and contemplates where it can go, what feed pile it can move to without starting another fight. And you don't think these fights are serious? That they take energy, increase the pulse of the deer? The one that was driven away is hyperventilating, an indication of stress. Deer under stress, especially hunger in the winter, aren't kind to each other. They don't want to share. They don't want to let their weaker brothers and sisters eat the limited food that's available, and when they fight, they often stake out a territory. Now watch them clear the space out around themselves. Not just enough room to eat, but they try to drive the other deer clear off of the whole food pile. Now, you might call it greed. Deer call it survival of the fittest. Where is this place? This Wildlife Acres? It's in Hulbert. There's no admission charge. You can walk right into the downstairs of the small apartment building. And when the deer are there, Lloyd Campbell is feeding them. You might see as many as 100 or more winter whitetails. So far this winter, however, the deer are not yarded. They haven't shown up yet. Now, it's a real dilemma for deer lovers at Hulbert. When you don't see the deer at Hulbert, you know they're healthy, and that's good. If you want to see them, though, you know that they're starting to starve. That's a classic winter dilemma of people who enjoy seeing white-tailed deer in Michigan outdoors. A lot of people want to know where those deer are. Hulbert, right up here by Tequamanon Falls. The bad news is, well, good news is for the deer, they've only been seeing 3 to 4 deer a day. Deer are not yarded up anywhere in the state. Our reports from all over the state say it's easy for the deer. They're still ranging and finding plenty of food. Root cellar, Lake Gogebic, 12 to 16 inches of ice, most I've found in the state, 6 to 8 inches of snow on the ground, some good rabbit hunting. Dick's favorite sport says they have 8 to 10 inches of snow in the Keweenaw Peninsula. Bayshore Resort reports 4 to 6 in the woods. The ice in Bay de Noc is 7 to 8 inches thick, not thick enough for cars. Fair perch, some real good walleye fishing. Harry's Place, Muskong Bay, we were just there earlier this week. Perch and walleye fishing, he says the walleye picked up right after we left, of course. Doesn't that always happen? West side of the bay, there's some thin spots on the east side. Adrian's Sport Shop around Rogers City, 2 inches of snow on the ground. Not real safe ice in that corner of the state. Over to Charlevoix, Ace Hardware says Lake Charlevoix. There's fishermen out in boats on Lake Charlevoix. No snow on the ground there, but Traverse City area, big skiing center, 6 to 10 inches of snow. According to Alberta Sports Shop, Captain Emil Dean says when you drop down to Manistee, there's a skiff of snow on the ground, but he's catching 3 to 4 steelhead trout a day. Lakes are fishable down in the southwestern part of the state, according to BJ's Sporting Goods, 2 inches of snow on the ground. Wildlife Taxidermy says there's 3 to 4 inches around Monroe, 3 to 5 inches of ice. Gale's Bait and Tackle and Quanakasi says it's good perch fishing Saginaw Bay in that area. Terrific walleye on the Tittabawassee River. 7, 8-pounders are not uncommon. Tawas Hardware says there's no ice on Tawas Bay, but the groomed trails are in pretty good shape for snowmobiling. Tip-Up Town, okay, there's some thin spots on some parts of the lake, but the Tip-Up Town site has 10 to 12 inches of ice. We're going to be there with the cameras, fireworks on Friday night, and I hope somebody catches some big fish for the trophy book. A trophy buck for the trophy book. 15 points of heavy antlers spreading 21 inches across. Robin Buckley from Brooklyn bagged it the 8th day of the season. Guess where? Jackson County. Isn't that something? Some people hunt a long time for a big rack, like Fred Cook from Portage. In 40 years of hunting the UP, this is his biggest, an opening day 13-point taken near Waters Meet. Now, other people don't hunt long at all for a trophy. 17-year-old Steve Kosselman from Byron, his first deer taken on Thanksgiving Day, a Shiawassee County 11-pointer. I know you think it's another Lake Gogebic perch. Nope. John Seming from Traverse City caught it on West Grand Traverse Bay through the ice, over 2 pounds at 16.5 inches long. In the crappie department, here's a 16.5-incher that goes nearly 2.5 pounds. Randy Kovac from Sanford caught it in Pratt Lake, Gladwin County. Not a lot of Michigan anglers go for trout in the winter. I don't know if Kathy Bricker was. She's from Petoskey, but she caught a 3-pound, 2-ounce, 19-inch brookie on a golden shiner from Deer Lake near Charlevoix. Clarence Earl from Tawas is holding a 30-inch walleye. That's an 11-pounder. Caught it on a tip-up in the Ausable River. Oh, that's awesome. But so is this northern pike that Tim Gannon from Concord is holding. That's a heavy-bodied 23-pounder, 42 inches. He speared it in Swains Lake, Jackson County. I'm surprised that pike doesn't have a rack. Notice the difference in coloration with this tiger muskie, the dark spots. It's a 31-pounder that Larry Hedberg speared from Indian Lake up in Schoolcraft County. Look at those dark spots of a muskie compared with the white spots on the northern pike. Jim Fisher from Union City said 4 of them could barely pull this one through the hole. He caught it in Calhoun County on a tip-up, nearly 27 pounds. We'll give Jim Fisher the title as our Michigan Outdoors Trophy Angler of the Week.
The winter has slowed down hunting and fishing just a little bit, and the legislature, well, the outdoor news coming from them has been a little slow too, but there are still plenty of things that sportsmen need to know in the outdoor headlines. Turkey permits the applications are out and available at DNR offices and many sporting goods stores. The deadline for applying is February 1st. The Point Mouillet shooting range will probably be closed until sometime in the spring. When it does reopen, it will stay open until November 30th and only Wednesdays through Sundays. There's still no word from the governor's office on who Blanchard will appoint to take Gordon Geyer's spot on the Natural Resources Commission. That position has been vacant since Geyer stepped down to become director last April. The stream limit on pink salmon will be increased from 5 to 10 this year, according to DNR biologist Dave Borgeson. The new limit, however, will not affect anglers on the Great Lakes. Both Senator John Cherry and Representative Jerry Bartnick tell me they'll consider introducing a bill to prohibit counties, cities, and townships from passing gun ordinances that stop non-residents from legally transporting firearms. Introductions of such bills should take place in the next 2 months. Tularemia has claimed the life of an elderly New Jersey woman. The disease that's passed on in many cases from rabbits to humans is rare, especially in Michigan. Tularemia can be avoided by being careful while cleaning rabbits. Use rubber gloves, especially in the early seasons, and check the liver for white or yellowish spots. If you find the spots, either throw the whole rabbit out or make sure you cook it thoroughly. Another tip, don't pick up rabbits that appear sick or lethargic. And if you do feel a little sick after handling a rabbit, see a doctor right away.
Tularemia sounds serious, it is, but your chances of contracting it in Michigan are remote. Now, last week, I mentioned on the show that the DNR's public relations and public information has been lousy and still is. Bob Garner has some commentary right now on an important case in point.
When I announced to Michigan Outdoors viewers last week that the walleye and pike seasons were being changed effective April 1st of this year, it was a late announcement. The Natural Resources Commission had actually okayed the change at their meeting in September. The problem is that virtually nobody knew about it. The DNR issued no press release to explain it, and unless you read the thick commission agenda, you wouldn't have known that the change had ever been proposed. That wouldn't have happened if the species were trout. Any attempt to change the opening or closing dates of the trout season would have met with a bunch of public hearings, expensive research and surveys, and thousands of letters to the Natural Resources Commission. But the Fish Division acted without telling the fishing public that they were even considering changing the walleye and pike seasons. It caught many of us by surprise. From Muskegon to Muskogee, fishermen have wondered out loud whether this change is right or wrong. How will it affect the numbers of spawning fish? Will too many of the big spawners be caught? They ask. They are reasonable questions that deserve reasonable answers, but those questions should have been answered months ago. Public hearings and information sessions could have taken place that would have reduced or eliminated the doubt and confusion. At Houghton Lake, resort owners tell me that hundreds of fishermen schedule their vacation time around the pike and walleye opener. Now vacation time will have to be rescheduled, and that's not an easy task for working folks. All of this could have been avoided if the biologists in the Fish Division of DNR would have just let the public in on their plans. Laws are already in place that require governmental bodies not to operate in secret. They're called sunshine laws. It's time, in my opinion, for the DNR Fish Division to quit operating in the dark.
Speaking of seasons, we got a letter in our mailbag, Bob, from Andy Zaloga from Centerline, who asks about lake trout. He says, on August 16th off Frankfurt, we caught 9 lake trout and no salmon on a charter trip. Now, since the season ended on August 15th, all 9 had to be released, even though they were nearly dead from being brought up from such great depths. Is there a legitimate reason why lake trout season ends so early? Is there a way to catch or fish for salmon without catching trout? Now, our charter trip was no fish, no pay. Is it possible that certain captains could purposely take you over a lake trout hole just to get the pay? 3 questions in there.
Okay, let me answer the first one about the lake trout season. That is kind of an agreed-to thing that came about with the settlement of the Indian treaties. It might be changed, but it's going to be several years down the road.
Second one was, how can you catch them? You just troll a little higher. You don't troll on the bottom?
It's not foolproof, but if you don't have your baits right down on the bottom, you've got a little less chance of catching lake trout.
And what about no fish, no pay? Well, this is something you're going to have to work out with the captain. No fish, no pay. It's something that, well, I tell you, it's the captains sometimes aren't as much fun when they're under that kind of pressure. But work out those details in advance so you'll be covered. Now, let's see if you can answer this question in our outdoor quiz.
What is tilt fishing? In some parts of the country, ice fishing tip-ups are called tilts, so named because a flag tilts up and waves when a fish grabs the bait. A tilt fisherman sets a tilt spread. That's large numbers where the laws allow. Michigan law allows only 2 tip-ups, tilting the balance in the fish's favor.
The Manistee River, a beautiful place to fish for steelhead trout in the winter. Emil Dean has a river boat. He's a charter captain year-round. Raj McCarville was a fellow we wanted to get out on the river to catch his first steelhead. Only one trouble, Raj. You need to use that chair for most of the day, and you couldn't be in Emil's boat standing in the back or sitting on the motor transport there like we would often do.
Right, I don't have the balance, and I can't stand back. I need something to sit on, and my chair fits the bill. But as you can see here, Emil designed this himself. He only has to make another couple inches, and we could fit it in. But right now we couldn't.
So that we could fit the chair in his boat, but we couldn't wheel it back and forth and make the corners and get it into the heated cabin.
Right.
So we had to talk about this. Now, Raj, you're standing there. Some people are going to say, well, if you can stand, Raj, what the heck?
Well, that's, I have a lot of pain, and, I have a balance problem when I stand.
Well, with one leg amputated and the other leg reattached.
Right, I had both of them cut off, and one is reattached, and the pain is, intense if I'm on it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So, smart me, I use a chair, to get out and do more. But I have the ability to get out where a lot of folks don't. They have to stay in it.
Getting a paraplegic into the boat, we would have to lift him in. You can help get I have to move your leg there and get that in, but we got a chair. Norm there, a buddy who helps out Emil Dean, came up with a foam chair that he's used on his fishing boat. And we tried that on the back, and well,
It worked
in
out
there.
perfect.
You scooted in there. Of course, using the cane on the boat gives you a little more stability.
Yeah.
You had enough bend in your legs so it could be comfortable.
Right, I could sit there, and that chair turned out to be the best thing that I ever got into.
Now, Emil Dean is no stranger to disability. He was hit by a train when he worked for the railroad, knocked clear over a boxcar, and he had back injuries. He was laid
2
up
years.
for 2 years. So he understands the situation, and he's wanted to make some modifications on his boat. But it's sort of difficult for people who don't have the problems of not walking to understand how to change their boat to make it a little more accessible.
Right, that's kind of what we got out of this, showing Emil with the chair on the boat, and how, I don't show it there, but in the back, you can wheel back there, and it's heated.
In the
So you
heated
can go out all
cabin.
winter.
Now, this is your favorite part.
Oh,
We shouldn't
yeah.
really talk over this. This is Roger McCarville's first steelhead trout.
Watch this. I gotta get somebody to land them for me.
Yeah, well, I was on the net, and here we go. We'll get it in the net right now.
Trophy steelhead, almost.
Yeah. Look at that, Rob.
That's the biggest fish you ever caught, isn't it?
Biggest fish I ever caught.
Have you done much fishing since your accident 10 years ago?
No, I haven't done as much as I'd like to do, and part of it was the mobility problem. How are you gonna get out in that? And now if you go out and look at it and attack it, you can find ways to get around it.
And we did.
Right.
We took a boat that
Look at
many
it.
people would... Oh, you like that. That is a great steelhead.
Yeah.
That's an average steelhead, Raj. Now that we have that...
Average, where's yours?
Well, that's average for you. You caught that steelhead with that chair. Emil Dean is going to make some modifications to slide his door over so you can wheel back and forth. And you know what I found out? I'm sitting in that chair every chance I could get when you wanted to sit in the heated cabin.
Right. And it's great. Emil's gone out and bought 3 chairs now just for the people that go with him on his charter.
Well, not only them, but he sat in it, and he said
That's
it's
right.
great. What this is it's an example of when we solved the problem for a handicapper, we came up with some solutions that we could all use, because that chair made a world of difference to me, and the comfort,
Right.
it's phenomenal.
You're standing there all day. You know, it's good to sit down.
This is just an example of how we have made Roger McCarville not just outdoors forever, but a steelheader forever.
Right.
We're going to have many more. And
Big
we're going to
one.
take Raj up to Tip-Up Town this weekend. You'll probably see us up there. That's an event on our outdoor calendar.
Tomorrow night, Parkside Auditorium in Jackson, wildlife photographer Tom Sterling presents his excellent program, Autumn Journey to Alaska, a magnificent motion picture. A Friday night party with meetings all day Saturday and a dinner, that's the agenda for the Michigan Bear Hunters Convention in Gaylord this weekend. Trout Unlimited in Midland is sponsoring Fisherama with continuous seminars all afternoon, 1 till 5 at the Center for the Arts. This weekend, we'll be in the thick of the fray at Tip-Up Town, USA in Houghton Lake. The first weekend of 2, our cameras will be there and hope you can make it up for the day. What a good time. The deadline for our cooking contest entry forms is a month away, but if you'd like to enter your favorite recipe, contact us for a form. Either write or call and we'll send you one. Tickets for the 6th Annual Stroh's Hunting Awards Banquet are selling at a brisk pace. Don't be left out if you want to attend. This will be a sure sellout on the 21st of February. 2 weeks later, on March 7th, the anglers gather for the honors. The biggest fish of 1986 will be on display, and the lucky anglers will be receiving their Stroh's Fishing Awards on stage. That's where you'll hear the stories.
The number 1. Here it is, a fish that I tell you I envy. If I was going to catch a master angler fish, this would just about be my choice for the trophy. Hold it up, Michael Unger, from Saginaw, 2 pounds, 7 ounces, Wixom Lake, Gladwin County, on a night crawler at about 2 in the afternoon at the end of April.
Correct.
Got all that right. Now, what's the trick to catching them?
Luck. Luck, a lot of luck.
What's the second?
And of course, the summer brings the Outdoor Fair, June 26th through the 28th. It's a summer tip-up town at Houghton Lake. If you missed a phone number but want more information on any of these events, the Michigan Travel Bureau will give you the right number. Call 1-800-5432-YES.
You know, it's kind of amazing how, when we look at this on television, it doesn't really do the justice, this deer steak and noodles.
Can't really see all the paprika.
Oh, man, I tell you, it's good, though.
So colorful.
This is from Joanne DeMars from St. Clair Shores, called Deer Steak and Noodles, a recipe that is, I'm not kidding, a real winner because it's easy,
Oh,
it's
very easy.
tasty.
And the
I
venison
told-
is fresh.
I told Bob that he'd have that gone in 30 seconds.
Right, don't bother
I
me.
think
I'm
you're going to
eating
be right.
This is A number 1 stuff.
A number 1 and so easy.
Oh, it is.
Take a look at we used this is a piece of round
Roast, right.
from the back leg that was trimmed, thoroughly trimmed.
And it's supposed to be cut into chunks, so we're just going to go ahead and cut this into the small, bite-sized pieces. She said a steak, but this
Well,
works just as well.
If you use any trimmed venison meat,
Absolutely.
it would be
Call
great.
for button mushrooms, sour cream. It's almost like a stroganoff. Salt and pepper and paprika, and that's what's going to give it your red color. And you're going to need some butter and bacon grease to fry the meat in.
Well, I think Joanne likes flavor.
Yeah,
Likes to
and
grant this flavor.
that
The bacon
little
grease.
bit, just that little bit, and all you're going to do is saute your pieces of meat, and you can't really taste it, but it's there. There's something different
That
there.
bacon grease.
Yep.
This is an excellent recipe. Chop up the onion.
Yep. Going to saute those till you just lose the color, till they're translucent. Go ahead and add your meat to it. And this doesn't take very long, just a couple minutes, because all you want it to do is lose the color here.
Yeah, you want to brown this lightly and quickly.
Yep.
And not cook the dickens out of it.
Yes, absolutely. Go ahead and put that into a casserole dish. This doesn't...
Those are the deer steak and onions right there.
Oh, yeah, now that'd be good just
That-
like that. Absolutely.
Then you're going to make the sauce, the gravy.
Yep, and you're going to use the butter and the bacon grease that was in your pan. You don't want to drain that out. And actually, you'll kind of cook down here very quickly.
Salt and pepper and paprika, which
2
is
teaspoons.
which is a pepper.
It's a pepper family, that's right. That's why it's got the red flavor to it.
Red
color. Red color and flavor.
And a red flavor, I
Yes.
might add.
It is. It's a little bit spicy all by itself.
But you know,
Now, paprika will burn, so you want to stir that very quickly.
And sour cream will
1/3 cup of sour cream.
get funny too.
Yes, yep. Don't want it to curdle. And your mushrooms. It thickens right now. I mean, it doesn't take long at all.
But it's interesting when you take this and put it on the thick globs of this sauce, this rich sauce, on the deer steak and onions. When it comes out in the dish, we do have gravy here too. You can see right here the gravy that we have that Bob has an eye on. Right? What do you think of this, Bob?
It too.
Is
Or
it
the
just-
noodles.
Well, the big difference between this and a good stroganoff recipe is that it isn't nearly as rich.
That's right.
This isn't?
Yeah, it's not something that you can only eat a little of because it's so rich and heavy. This is it's kind of light.
When
and
was the
easy
last
going.
time you ran into something that you could only eat a little of?
I think it was the Swiss cheese and wine, and I couldn't eat any of that.
Well, this is deer steak and noodles. You can serve it on noodles. You could probably serve it on rice.
Rice would be good on rice. Very, very
Excellent.
good.
Good time to get some venison out of the freezer. Trim it up.
Use this recipe. Definitely.
Definitely. There's the endorsement. Well, folks, I hope you can get outdoors this weekend. It's a great place to be. We'll see you next week.
This recipe for deer steak and noodles is one you ought to try. With venison, beef, rabbit, chicken, it would work with anything. If you didn't copy it down, that's all right. It's in the upcoming January-February issue of the Outdoor Digest, along with all the recipes for the first 2 months of 1987. Plus articles on hunting and fishing, one on winter deer food by Leonard Lee Rue that gives more information on tonight's deer story. The Outdoors Forever supplement, plus information on how you can become a member of Fred Trost Outdoors Club. For a free digest, all you have to do is write Fred Trost Outdoors Club, P.O. Box 6001, East Lansing, Michigan 48823. The new digest will be out in about a week.
So far this winter, however, the deer are not yarded. They haven't shown up yet. Now, it's a real dilemma for deer lovers at Hulbert. When you don't see the deer at Hulbert, you know they're healthy, and that's good. If you want to see them, though, you know that they're starting to starve. That's a classic winter dilemma of people who enjoy seeing white-tailed deer in Michigan outdoors.